Hi guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be looking through some of our social media channels as well as the podcast channel and answering some of the comments that you've left, whether it be a question or some of the comments and information that you've shared. Maybe just giving some insight to some of the answers that I have already provided and answering some of them that I haven't. Welcome to the Property Corner with myself, Rowan Alexander. So on one of the videos that we did about investing in a buy-to-let in a company in South Africa, there was a comment about doing it in trusts and sort of just the blanket do it in a trust. And that's one of the typical things that I think you should avoid is just sort of shooting off the hip and buying in a particular entity because someone said so. Be sure to understand the implications of buying in an entity and go and watch that full episode if you want to understand why I say this. You don't just buy in a company or buy in a trust or buy in your own name because someone said so. You need to make sure that it's correct to your particular circumstances and your goals and what you're trying to achieve. Bo Horror commented on the video about whether you're being smart about paying your bond off early. And yes, in summary, you basically save by paying off your debts quicker and you pay less interest overall. That's 100% the case, and that's the mathematics behind that. The video intention is to show people actually how to do that because there is a lot of questions surrounding can you pay monthly? If I pay 2 or 3 or 4 payments, multiple payments in a month, does that save me interest? There's a lot of misconceptions about this. So the video was purely to clear that up. But yes, in summary, pay your debts off quicker, pay less interest. I think that's pretty straightforward. On the video about tools for evaluating property investments in South Africa, Maxine made a comment to ask, or she asked the question, but isn't it a bad investment if your rental income is not covering your bond costs in totality? And this is very often a debate and a discussion that comes up whether income generating property or capital appreciating property is the better purchase. I believe the balance is, and and we've covered this before, and I will cover this again in videos going forward. But go and have a look at the response that I've put. Maybe there's a bit of a different perspective to say, if my capital growth is outweighing the cumulative shortfalls that I've had for the year, I still regard this as a good investment. As you know, making this sort of content isn't easy. We wouldn't be able to do it without the support of our local partners and sponsors. This episode is sponsored by Mortgage for You, a mortgage origination business based in Cape Town that does mortgage bonds right across South Africa. Mortgage for You has been integral in the growth of our business. They've helped us with all the expats from abroad looking to finance property in South Africa and also assisted our local clients for the past 10 years. Their service is unrivaled. Mortgage for You can assist you with a pre-qualification and also the formal application to the banks. It's always good to get involved with a mortgage originator very early on in the process so they can understand your financial position and make recommendations prior to lodging an application for mortgage finance. Hop over to www.mo4u.co.za to check out their website. You'll find different cost calculators there that assist you in calculating your affordability, bond repayments, transfer costs, and there's also the opportunity to reach out to Esme LaRue, who's the head of that business that will assist you personally with all your mortgage needs. So thank you to Mortgage for You for supporting our channel and for sponsoring this episode. On the video about why you should purchase buy-to-let properties in 2025, there was a comment from Christian who mentioned that they'd bought a property 5 years ago, subdivided it into 2, and it's going really well to get from a rental perspective. But now they're struggling to get the banks to refinance this in order to do the next one. So it looks like someone trying to move into a bit more of a developer space or developing to hold from a rental income perspective. But it seems like everything I've tried has backfired. Any advice on how to position everything in order to get banks to finance the next one? So on that particular case, reach out to me and we can see how we can help. But in concept, it's going to depend upon whether you are subdividing to resell or whether you are subdividing to create a multi-let or multiple letting opportunities out of a single earth. In reality, if a property has been subdivided, there's 2 separate titles, so there shouldn't be any issue in selling or refinancing or remortgaging in terms of the property. What could be a hindrance is that you've reached the maximum qualification that you as individual qualify for, whether it be for one property or across 50. The value for which you qualify will always remain the same. And that is something that I've covered quite extensively in the past too. There's this misconception that if I earn X amount of, or if my rental income covers my bond costs, that I can then go on and just purchase the next property because they've sort of squared each other out. That's not the case. That's not how access to credit in South Africa works. So I'm not saying that's the case here. We'll need some more information to be able to advise, but that's a common misconception in the market. On my video about the behind the scenes changes coming to the property corner in 2025, and as well as the video about why buy to let is a good idea for 2025, there were some discussions started about Airbnb. Now, this is probably one of the issues that I feel strongest about, and I'm going to be doing a video about Airbnb, the opportunities, and sort of whether I think that's a good idea in future. But the discussion goes around the potential for legislation to curb some of the upside of Airbnb, and how this is particularly sort of significant in the Cape Town market, where there are a lot of Airbnbs, and there's been some discussion since 2023 by government to try and intervene for whatever reason, the motivations behind that are. Now, I think the only part that I want to explain now and touch on now is the fact that this is not a Cape Town issue. It's not a South Africa issue. It's a worldwide issue. Airbnb changed the market in the short term let significantly, and right around the world, this has caused some trouble, whether it be excluding certain market segments, whether it's putting pressure on the hotel industries, your traditional accommodation and things like that, or whether it's making it just simply unaffordable for local people to enjoy their cities. But these are all factors that come into play, and communities are pressurizing their authorities to step in to maybe counteract some of the negative impact that short-term letting has created. But this is not unique to Cape Town. It's not unique to South Africa. This is a worldwide thing. If you go and look these things up online, you'll find many cases of cities around the world having to take measures to protect their local economies from the negative effects of the short-term letting. On one of the videos I did about property investment and whether Cape Town is really overpriced, Billy asked the question, Rowan, can you please assist us with the residential property market in Gauteng? A general update, predictions in sales of residential property. Billy, I'll certainly do that. I've got some reporting, even though I'm not actively trading in those areas. I've got a lot of access to reports that I will summarize and look into for you in future. On the video, the time to invest is now. Hussein alludes to a similar question that we've dealt with earlier. So the question is whether you buy to let for positive cash flow, or which is hard to do in Cape Town, as he mentions, or whether you buy for capital appreciation, which is never guaranteed. I think covered this quite substantially in the past. My personal strategy is sort of somewhere in between, but probably leaning more towards the capital appreciating properties, because that is a market within which I trade and operate. Doesn't mean cash flow properties are bad or wrong. There are actually a number of properties that we sell that are positive cash flow from day one. In Cape Town, however, this is harder to achieve because you've got such aggressive capital growth. So that's it for the questions for now. I want to encourage you, continue asking questions. We look at these questions, we monitor them, we try and answer them online, but also these video formats to give better perspective to the answers. And then it also inspires us for new video content creation. So if you have a question on your mind, reach out to us if you need an answer immediately, or else drop it in the comments, and we will gladly do videos about them in future. So thanks for the support. Thanks for following and subscribing. We've had tremendous channel growth over the past couple of months. So thanks for that. You guys have really been great in supporting us. So thank you. Stick around for our next episode.